Hey everyone! So for those of you who've ever made an adventure map before or a resource pack, you may know that the helmet items in Minecraft cannot be a 3D model. They are essentially a texture applied on top of the hat layer of your skin. Now this obviously limits the ability to use them in adventure maps because you can't have really sort of detailed models on your head. However, block models like this endstone I have in my hand here, which is the night vision goggles I made for the heist map, can be displayed as a 3D model if they're in the head slot. Now unfortunately, a sort of survival player cannot place the model because it's an endstone, it's not a helmet model, in the head slot. So obviously if you're trying to make a map where the player can sort of interchangeably change out different types of helmets with different attributes and different 3D models, then you're going to have a few problems. So this is exactly the problem this guy called Kip had on Twitter when he messaged me asking if I had a solution to the problem. And I didn't at the time, but I figured it'd be sort of a fun challenge to try and come up with a command block solution, and I'm pretty happy with the solution I came up with. So let me go ahead and just activate this command block module here, and if I go into F5 and then put on the leather cap, so if I right click, it'll put this sort of cow skull helmet on my head, and this was just from the planetary confinement map. And if I take it off, I get the leather helmet back again, so I can shift click, anything like that. It'll just quickly put it back in my inventory. And the same thing with the chain helmet. This is used for the night vision goggles. So obviously the sort of items don't look the same in the GUI, but you can actually make them look the same, because although the helmet cannot have a 3D model when it's in the head slot, that's because it's technically a sort of different item to what's displayed in your sort of inventory. You can change the display settings, so you can actually just copy the model used for the endstone and have it as the chainmail as well, so it sort of seamlessly looks like a helmet, which is really cool. So this command block module works by using 2 scoreboard objectives and then a total of 9 command blocks if you want just one helmet item, but for each additional helmet item you want to add, you just need to add 7 more command blocks. You can actually have a lot more than just 2. It's just a case of sort of duplicating the commands inside a few of them and changing a few words or numbers inside of them. So I'm going to try and explain this. I'm not very good at explaining this, and it is sort of complicated. I had to try and wrap my own head around it. But there will be a world download in the description that contains the resource pack as well, so you can have a go at sort of seeing how this all works and try and add your own helmets if you want to and things like that, just by copying the sort of layout that I've got here. But let's start with the scoreboard objectives. So there's 2 scoreboard objectives. Place helm, which actually handles when you put on the helmet, so that sort of tick, that single tick where you've got the leather helmet in the head slot, for example, and then helm, which actually keeps track of the helmet worn, which is the sort of block that's in your head slot. So for example, glass if you've got the leather cap, or endstone if you've got the chain helmet. And it's worth mentioning that it doesn't have to be glass or endstone. It's just an item that you wouldn't acquire in the adventure map, because obviously it would clear that from your inventory. So it can be any block that you want it to be. So I've sort of added these signs on top, which aim to sort of simplify the commands inside. But basically, to start off with, it sets your helm score to 0. Then if you've got the leather helmet on, it sets the place helm score to 1. So when you put that on, it sets the place helm score to 1. If helm is 0, like it should be because it's set to 0 there, and place helm equals 1, i.e. when you've got that in your head slot, then it replaces the leather helmet with glass. Then if glass is in the head slot, it sets helm to 1 to sort of memorize that the helmet type is number 1. And this actually overwrites the original helm 0 score. So if you've got a if you've got glass in your head slot, then helm will always be set to 1. It sort of overwrites this because of the order that the command blocks are in. So next, if you've got glass in your head slot, if helm equals 1 essentially, then it will tag the player with the tag helmet skull. This can be whatever name you want it to be. I just made it helmet skull because that's what the sort of helmet looks like. And then it sort of clears the glass from the inventory if it's taken off. So if the helm is 0 and place helm is 0. And then it'll set place helm back to 0, and this is so it doesn't actually spam replace the head slot with glass over and over again, which sort of makes duplicates and things like that. And then finally, if there's no helmet on, yet you still have the helmet skull tag, then it'll give you back the leather helmet, and then it'll remove the helmet skull tag if there's no helmet on. So that's sort of double there. Now, I've sort of labeled these command blocks over here for the 2 helmet items so that you can see which ones need to be duplicated, kind of thing. So I think there's only the white and pink ones that stay as just single ones, because obviously the place helm setting back to 0 and setting the helm back to 0 don't need to be sort of duplicated for each helmet item you have. So let's just look in here, for example. So this is the setting the place helm command. So it sets 1 if you've got Minecraft leather helmet in slot 103 in your inventory, which is the helmet slot. And then this is just slightly changed, so it's setting it to 2 instead of 1, and you've got Minecraft chainmail helmet instead of leather helmet. So if you wanted 3, for example, you'd copy this command here, copy this command, copy this command, and then maybe add another one. So you'd put place helm 3 and then just do, I don't know, diamond helmet instead. And then you could just copy, I'd label them just so you can make a note of which ones you've done. But then you just copy the ones, so you do 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these, 1 of these, 3 of these, and 3 of these for each sort of one. Make up your own tag names, for example, but place helm and helm will always be a number. But that's essentially it. The download will be in the description. Let me know, in the comments down below what you think of this, and if you think it could be improved or anything like that. I think it's a fairly reliable system, and I'm pretty happy with it. But that's going to be the end of the video. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.